Good evening. Welcome to, I call to order the special meeting Tuesday, September 27th, 2022 of the Homeless Committee at 5:30 p.m. Denise, could you please take roll? Here.
Stacey Fiess. Here. Kenneth
Here.
Lynda. Here. Lynda Cunningham.
Here.
Gwen Nash.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we have.
Very well. Now for the review of the agenda. If there are any items that arose after the 72-hour posting deadline, this is the point in the meeting where a vote may be taken to add an item to the agenda. Are there any items that wish to be added to the agenda at this time? Okay. Seeing none, public comment for commissioners. Members of the public wishing to address the commission on matters within the jurisdiction of the City of Seaside, but not on this agenda, may do so during the public comment period for up to 3 minutes. Comments on specific agenda items are heard under that item. For public record, please state your name.
Hello, good evening. We are working. Good evening, Chair Strickland and the rest of the commission. My name is Derek Elder. I'm the Family Community Support Practitioner for the City of Seaside's Family Community Support Program. And I am happy to be here tonight supporting this meeting, and it looks like our technology concerns are now addressed, and so we are able to move forward. Thank you.
Wes White, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union, co-president. And just coming in because I heard about this meeting yesterday, so figured I'd come check it out. And kind of excited about the energy. Been talking with Derek quite a bit, and the momentum for us. Got lots of ideas to share with you, I suppose. I remember Patullo at one point was going to have a overnight shower program, for folks. Maybe even whoever signed for HOMELESSNESS. And of course, what I'm really interested in is like stopping the sweeps or move along, making people move along. Because that puts a lot of people in threat right there. People just need somewhere to be. So if they're signing up for services, HOMELESSNESS cards, then that should grant them immunity from being moved along if they can maintain organized space, where trash, food, pee, and poo is in its place, which drives me back to open the bathrooms, make sure there's enough bathrooms for as many people. Whatever rules the city does needs to be scalable for everyone that's in the city, and they need to be fair and objective rules, which to me just means like a blanket of trash. If it's just a strewn mess, then, we got to redirect that behavior. But if they're not causing an issue like a blight or whatever, just them existing, we talk about the homeless problem. Well, which perception are we talking about? Oh my God, they're there and get rid of them? Or, hey, they need help. They're not actually homeless. When they become homeless, it's because of sweeps. And everything that they have is taken away from them. And it's not a cleanup, it's more of a theft. So, the misnomer of terms, the way we pay ourselves to treat each other, and that's where I enjoy thinking about how authoritative this body wants to be, and how beautiful Seaside's administration has been being in a lot of respects. And so I'm just really excited to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Sasha Sage, and considered one among the homeless, as considered. There's so much help and so much things need to be done out there. I personally live in an RV. I'm out at nights. I see what happens at nights. I know just about every area where the homeless are. I help to feed them on Wednesdays. I give stuff out from my RV. People comes to me crying all the time, guys crying. They don't have where to go. They don't have food. People sleeping under open. The rain that fell the other day, many people, there was like 5 or 7 guys sleep out in the rain. And I feel like that is so bad because there's so much more that can be done. We don't feel like we can solve everything, but if we start with love, if we start showing love to these people, it will make such a change. That's all I do. I show love, but I don't have all that I need. to help them when the time comes. So I'd like to find someone or whatever I can do here that whenever people come to me, because I go on their level, I stay with them, then I can call someone and says, well, here's this is going on, and what can you do or help to do something about it. I want to do everything that I can. I'm here. I try to leave so many times, but I'm still here. So evidently there's a job for me here to do. And I can do it. I'm good at it. That's what I do. I come from a family of 106 cousins. My grandmother keeps us, all of us. Nobody drinks, nobody smokes, nobody did drugs, nobody in prison, nobody goes through anything. And I think she handed it down to me and to the rest of her family anyway. So I can do it. I'm just here to, I just want someone who I can call whenever these people come to me so I can help to do what I have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment at this time, moving along to our agenda item to approve the minutes of the August 25th, 2022 Homeless Commission meeting. Recommendation is approve the minutes as presented in the agenda packet. Commissioners, have you all had a chance to review the minutes, or do you have any questions on any thoughts on the minutes? Seeing none, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the August 25th, 2022 Homeless Commission meeting?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented in the agenda packet from August 25th, 2022.
Do we have a second?
I second. This is Lynda.
Very well. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion passes to accept the minutes. Moving along to business items, 6A, discuss plans to host a community listening session on the state of homelessness in the City of Seaside in the fiscal year 2022-2023. Recommendation, receive a report from Commissioner Fiess on the options and logistics explored by the subcommittee for hosting a community listening session on the state of homelessness in the City of Seaside. Commissioner Fiess?
Yes, so Commissioner Cunningham and I have been putting together a draft agenda that is included in your packet tonight. And so we wanted to get your feedback on it. And then we also provided some questions that we would like to ask at the listening session that would be, we think, presented in like a flyer form that people would fill out while they were there and then return. So I think what I'll do is just go through our draft agenda really quick, get any feedback you have, and then we can go through the questions, and then I have a couple of things jotted down as next steps that we need to do and decide on to kind of move forward. So first of all, does everybody see the agenda? Okay, so what we were thinking is that we would start off with a welcome and introduction by you, committee chair.
Okay.
That sounds good.
Yep.
So we give you a few minutes to introduce the other commissioners and then just kind of to share a little bit about the mission of the Homeless Commission. I think actually we would probably move that A from agenda item 2 to 1. So you would be also in charge of defining the role of the commission. And then Lynda, I assigned to you the next one. We had it down for both of us, but I don't think that I'll be better for it, so I gave it to you. But then Lynda would kind of open up with what the purpose of the listening session was, and so the few things that we kind of pointed out that she would expand on some would be to identify service providers that serve homeless individuals in Seaside. So just kind of sharing an overview of what those are. We know that there is a packet available, we think, right, that we could share at the listening session, and then we'd also share our website. And then we would want to receive feedback from the community and service providers about how the commission can serve them in the future. So that's kind of our purpose of the listening session. And then after that, Derek, we were hoping that you could provide just a very short presentation about homeless services in Seaside, or maybe you can give us, find somebody who could do that, but we thought you'd be great at it since, you have so much knowledge. And then after kind of all that sort of background overview, we would open it up for a facilitated discussion where we would have questions and then give space for people in attendance to answer those questions. We thought that having some guided questions might be more helpful than sort of just opening it up for general discussion, but we did want to save some time at the end for kind of just open discussion and questions if we didn't cover it in the questions that we provided. And then at the end, we would want to have somebody sort of summarize what we heard as a commission, kind of the key points for moving forward and what the commission can do to better support the community. And then after all of the formal presentation was done, we would just have sort of an open meet and greet for service providers, for us to meet service providers and homeless individuals in the community, for homeless individuals and service providers to kind of come talk to us and ask questions. So that's sort of the general layout for the agenda. I put some general time guidelines in there, but we wanted to keep it at no more than 2 hours for everything, so including the meet and greet and everything. So really it would be brief presentations. The majority of the time would be for the sort of facilitated discussion and the meet and greet afterwards. So based off of this, does anybody have any feedback or feel this is a good start?
You go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question. So I see that B and C are highlighted, and I think they're what you would say are the purpose of the listening session, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So, and I know that we had heard from the city a while ago about the session they had in terms of bringing different providers in. And I'm just trying to figure out what's the difference and how is this unique to that? Do you have thoughts about that?
So my thought is that the purpose of this is to see how the commission, like the homeless commission, can better support those service providers. So whether that be, connecting the service providers to each other, like if they're doing similar type of work, getting them together. But really, I think it's more, in my mind, it's more of what the commission's role is in relation to the service providers as opposed to the service providers to the community. So how can we better support service providers as well as individuals? But I think our role in that is really, making sure that the service providers are being kind of promoted and well utilized by individuals.
So then it would align closely to our mission statement is what I guess you're saying, right?
Right. And how, I guess just getting feedback on how we can do that better.
Yes, hi, commissioners. And just to expand to it, upon what Commissioner Fiess is saying, really to bringing in the folks themselves, that have experience, that have lived it, that can be a true voice as well to inform us really what they need and how we can be best supportive. Because I would say that's one entity we haven't really heard from yet is from the direct population. We have had meetings, or sessions where service providers have come and give some information, and even that can still be expanded upon. But this is also an opportunity to allow individuals from the community who have some experience with homelessness itself or just being unhoused, at a level of low housing that can, give the true feedback on this is what we would like to see from the city and the commission itself. So just another, I think, purpose to why this listening session can be truly impactful and beneficial.
I would agree.
It's one of the reasons why I'm hoping somebody from that community applies for one of our open commission seats.
I think this is a very good start. I like this. It's a very good itinerary of what would be done. I did have a question. Are we going to offer any kind of refreshments or anything at this event?
Yes, so we had discussed doing that. So we have some money in our budget for this specifically. So I think that's, yeah, yes, a yes.
Awesome.
It's interesting when you look at, for me, looking at this on paper, it is, because I looked at it online, but I seem to be seeing things on paper I didn't see online. To go back to these highlights, my understanding, I'm not a Google Docs person, my first experience with it, is these highlights are related to these comments.
Yes, and sorry, I actually meant to take the comments off for the purpose of this, but you can see all of our thoughts.
So it wasn't that they were highlighted because it's the purpose of this meeting, they're highlighted because there's comments, and I'm okay with the comments, I don't have any issue with it, I just wanted you to understand why these are highlighted. Or on the following pages, whatever is highlighted has to do with, there's comments associated with it. I'm not saying I'm a master at all of Google Docs. I think I've managed not to break anything, so I'm pretty happy with that. But when I look at this, what I'm thinking is, I think we need more listening and less talking. This sounds like a lot of us talking and not a lot of listening. I haven't worked out all the math to add up how much time of this. To me, 30 minutes of meeting and grading and 30 minutes of facilitated discussion is not a lot of listening. And especially if we're meeting and greeting, then we're not, everybody's not hearing the same thing. That's just individual conversations. Maybe that's not what that is, but maybe that is what it is. Maybe that's just a matter of math, and this is, our first draft, and I think it's a great first start. I do have to say specifically for my 5 minutes, item B, identify service providers. I don't know if I'm supposed to just list off who the service providers are, make a description.
I think the purpose of that one is just for you to say that the purpose of the listening session is to identify service providers in the community, not to list them off or share anything about them. Just to say we're here to gather them and get a sense of who they are. That's the purpose of the listening session.
Oh, I thought we already had a lot of these people come and do presentations to us. I just don't want to repeat that because we've already done
We certainly do. I think it's just if there are ones out there that we haven't identified, this is a chance for them to introduce themselves. And
Okay,
for
so
us
this
to
is them introducing themselves, not me introducing
Yeah, you're just saying the purpose of the listening session is for us to get a full understanding, a full.
Yeah, well, maybe we should have a sign-up sheet so we can have it organized in one place and we can distribute that work and each group can sign up and say, I'm a group that provides services.
I think when people come in, we would ask them we would have a sign-up sheet.
Yeah, but not just their name, but I would like to say, have a sheet just for service providers and who provide services in Seaside so we can have a list and we don't have to decipher through a whole bunch of everything. And say, look, if you're a service provider, please put your name and what your services are down here and contact, so we can create a reference list. So we can put it on our website possibly, and when somebody asks, who do I call for help when I need to help somebody, who do I call? They could say, oh, I can go to Seaside's website 24/7 and look at this list of service providers, easy breezy, and figure out who to call.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it would just be
And then
adding to the list that we already have on the website if anyone was identified.
okay.
Any new service providers.
Okay, maybe I'll wordsmith this a little bit because it's a confusing sentence to me. And then it says, receive feedback from the community and service providers about how the commission can serve them better. I'm not actually receiving the feedback, I'm saying we're here to receive the feedback.
Exactly.
Because I was like, in 5 minutes, how are we getting any feedback? Okay,
We're not.
maybe I'm just not reading this sentence the way it's written. Okay,
It's just
thank you.
those things are the purpose of the listening session.
Okay,
That's all you're really just saying. The purpose of the session is to do this, this, and this.
okay.
And then we'll move on, and then we'll actually get that input during the discussion time.
Okay, hopefully we can let these, when we notify these service providers that we're having this session, because I'm hoping that's what we're going to do, we can ask them to come prepared with a couple of things of how, think about how can we help you be better. We can't give you $10 million. We can't provide 500 volunteers. But what do you think we can do? And I hope that we can get that to them so it's really quick. How can we help you? Just so, because 2 hours sounds like a lot of time, but once you divide it up, I just looked at this and I'm like, ooh, how much time is there? So thank you.
For the listening session, would we have a printed out list, like this is a list of the service providers, and have multiple copies of that we could give out?
It's my memory that there's a booklet, I don't know if I have it with me, there's a really detailed booklet of providers that was put together. Oh, here, I have it right here.
I have it too.
This booklet was put together, and I think this would be a great booklet to hand out to people who come in that other service providers can look at and help. I think this is already put together.
Hi, Commissioners, yes. And so the book you're looking at is the resource guide that the Family Community Support Program does provide throughout the community on a regular basis. It is a fluid document, meaning it's always being revised and updated as new programming, services, resources, etc. come across our way. And while, yes, certain sections in there are, specifically identifying homeless and housing needs, it does provide a variety of other, social service benefits and resources that can help those who are unhoused or homeless be able to, continue to reinforce their development and functioning to be able to be successful once they obtain housing. Folks need to acquire transportation support, food access, if they need to be able to access medical services, whatever it is, right? We do have information related to those things as well in there. We will certainly have that resource guide printed and, multiple copies available to the community on the day of the listening session.
Great. And so I think maybe to address one of your concerns, Lynda, I think maybe Derek can just give an overview of where people can find information about homeless service providers, the website kind of thing, but you don't need to go into detail. So you can do 5 to 10 minutes and then the rest of the time can be discussion. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not quite sure what facilitated discussion is, if you would run that. And then the other thing I think we should identify is who's going to keep track of what we've heard.
Yeah, so those are things that we had put in here as those are kind of next steps that we need to do, is to come up with the questions that we would want to ask during that facilitated discussion. So really the point of having it more facilitated is not to prevent people from having an open discussion, but really to guide it so that we can stay on track. And so if we have a couple of general questions that can be asked, kind of like what we're going to ask in that flyer, to kind of guide the discussion, and then at the end reserving some time if we don't cover, or if the public, service providers or public feels like they want to share something that we didn't specifically ask about, there's time for that. So I think we need to come up with a few questions for that, and then we also, we need to have somebody who's willing to take notes so that we can reflect back sort of at the end. Just obviously we can share afterwards more details about what all took place during the listening session, but if we could just have somebody recap what we heard. I don't know if we have anybody on the commission who feels comfortable doing that. I think it's kind of a heavy task because you have to keep track of, what's going on and make sure that you don't miss anything big. But, or, if we don't want to do that and we want to say we will come back with a summary of what we heard, we can also do that because it will be, I think, on Zoom as well, or something. Maybe, I don't know if we can record it as well.
I was just going to say, what we can most likely do is try to set up some kind of technology format that goes along with it to record it in some way. That way too, we can always go back to it and, be able to take out the information that's needed for our sense, but also have it maybe made available to those who can't make it that night, right? And so the beauty of 2022 with most things being in a hybrid format or some level of Zoom or something that can be recorded is at least it can be viewed after the fact. And so, let's come up with some kind of way of doing that then.
So maybe we'll just say we will come back with a
Yeah.
summary afterwards.
Yeah, I
We won't
think-
do it then.
Yeah, I think that would be the best way, because it'll, you know,
So we'll
then
just
to
have
try,
a
yeah.
closing instead.
Yeah, then try to do it in real time, because then in real time, we can really just make sure we're present and focus on the people there and what's going on. Afterwards, then we can, you know, watch it and take in, you know, the copious notes that are needed, you know, to just disseminate out the information, as well as make the recording available.
Okay. Derek, can I ask you a question?
Yes?
For the item 4, the facilitated discussion, is there somebody from the city who could help, like could be the facilitator who could help us design? Like I'm thinking of when I've gone to the charrettes. Like when we just did the one for the new development up the hill, like we broke out onto tables, they had, you know, maps and layouts, and we wrote Post-it notes. And those Post-it notes of ideas or suggestions were like stuck on the wall, and everybody could look at it, and there was like discussions. And I don't know who facilitated those, but that, you know, part of listening to this is thinking, wow, well, maybe we should have a way for people to write things down and other people can look at it, break out into groups. Maybe that's a future type thing, but is there actually somebody from the city who would have the skill set to help us design this session and facilitate it? Is that something we can ask of the city to help us with?
You certainly can, but I think it's also, you know, something I want to get back to the commission, and, you know, the subcommittee in and of itself can come up with the logistics on how they want to have that design, and then I'm more than happy to work with you and figuring out if we need to get someone else in to continue to, you know, further develop it, and or if I can do it myself. You know, either way, we can, you know, figure that out. But I would say if there's a few more ideas that you still have, maybe have the subcommittee kind of go back, explore that again, and then, you know, if we want to, you know, readdress this then in a future meeting when we're ready then to plan the official logistics, like the date, the time, location, all of that stuff. We'll also identify who could be a facilitator and what that will look like.
Thank you.
Derek, I think we had money in the budget to provide some facilitation.
That's correct.
So we can look at
Yes.
that too, right?
Let me, I'm gonna just grab the work plan.
Yeah. Can I go back to what Derek said earlier about making sure that we involve folks from the community who are homeless? I think that's really important in this. And I also think whatever questions we come up with for the facilitation, it would be great to get some feedback, potentially from others before we say these are our official questions, but that we're looking for that diverse perspective and that we're actually asking the questions that need to be asked.
Yeah, and just so the commission is aware, the Family Community Support Program does go out on the second and fourth Fridays of every month, and does outreach within the community with the homeless population. So maybe that could be one of our tasks, you know, slated to us is in our engagement, you know, start gathering questions and just, you know, information that they would like to see or brought up, you know, in that listening session. And then that way, you know, we're getting it directly from the source. And so that, yes, we will, you know, it will be appropriate to the population that we're speaking to. Yes, for the session, the questions will be appropriate. Yep, and then just looking at the work plan here, just to answer that inquiry, the commission does have slated in its budget this year $2,500 for presentations for homelessness solutions. That can be used for travel expenditures, for consultants, speakers, facilitators, etc., right? So just something to keep in mind.
I was also having the thought that after we host this listening session, that we would have a meeting afterwards, like maybe it would just be we'd call a special meeting at the Homeless Commission to go over what did we learn from our listening session. So I thought that would be a good way to close things off there. And then during the listening session, even if we don't have someone specifically delegated to take notes with questions at the meeting, any of us here, commissioners or staff, were able to take note and remember this is what was discussed. These were key things that came up. And yes, we'll still be present for everyone there, but when we have a free moment, maybe we just jot something down. So I want to remember this thing, we need to discuss this.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate that suggestion. I think too, if we're all kind of making an effort to keep our notes and at least pay attention to those important key points, one of the commissioners might, jot down something that another commissioner wasn't able to, right? But then we put all of our information together and hopefully it will be very informing, that's the idea.
Very well. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thanks to the subcommittee for the work, but I also wanted to just call out one other thing, which is I think we have to be really clear on the objective of this listening center session and what we plan to do with the information that we have. So I think we have to think about the questions we ask in light of that as well. Because we don't want to ask questions that we can't respond to and that we can't change and we can't do anything about. We want to make sure that we're really thoughtful about them. I don't know what that means exactly, which is I think why we want to make sure we get some feedback. But we want to make sure that we can take action with what information we get.
Very well, and I was even thinking, depending on what we learn from the listening session, it will affect our work plan going forward, I would think. We could focus better when we have a better understanding of which things to focus on. Are there any further discussion on this agenda item for the community listening session?
Are you asking just about the agenda page? Or are you wanting, because we have a second page that has to do with the...
Yeah, so we could just take a look at the second page really quick. It's just what we, kind of a draft of what we might hand out upon check-in for anyone attending. Just a couple of questions so that we have information. The first is just name and organization, email, so that we can get in contact with people afterwards if needed. And then specifically, one or two things that the Homeless Committee can do to support you or your organization in addressing homelessness in Seaside. So that would, I think, also be one of the discussion questions during the open discussion, but this is a place to have people maybe who don't, speak up during that, write it down. And then if you would like to connect with other service providers or individuals to address a particular topic related to homelessness in Seaside, and so if they answer yes, it gives them an option of which categories they might be interested in. And I think the purpose of that would be to connect anyone who's interested in food insecurity programs to each other. And then, do you feel homelessness in Seaside is increasing or decreasing? And then how did you hear about the listening session? And so I had I think kind of along what you were saying, Commissioner Mugan, was, what will we do with the information? And so the third question, I had a question about, what will we do with that information if people say it's increasing or decreasing? And I don't know, Lynda, if you wanted to speak a little bit to what you had said about that question.
Yeah, so, and that was via email, which is not unfortunate, because I could see where that would have been better to put here. I felt that it would be interesting, I thought it would be of interest to us to have a feeling, and we could track this, assuming we do this on an annual basis, year to year, do people feel it's increasing or decreasing homelessness? What's the perception of the people who attend this session? If they are saying it's increasing, but the counts show that it's actually decreasing, well, there's a disconnect there between perception and reality. And then is that something that we would address by trying to find a way to change perception? That to try to get these numbers out there, or how can we communicate that it's actually, what your perception is, that we're on a decline. I seem to remember, and I can't remember who had we do the annual count, we do the count, and there's, numbers by all kinds of different demographics. I thought one of the things that we might want to add to this is just some quick couple little charts showing, is homelessness going up, is it going down, just so everybody at the listening session can be on track that it's going down, it's going up. And I thought also, you know, if people think it's decreasing, but it's really increasing, you know, I just thought this would be interesting information, and maybe there's a better way to ask this question, maybe this is the right place to ask this question, but I thought it would be a data point we could track just to see if people feel it's improving. Like, I feel like I see less homelessness. Now, maybe it's this sweeping thing that's happening, and really we're not getting people into housing, we're just getting them out of sight. That would be something I'd be interested in personally. And I just thought this would just be something that would be of interest, but we should all consider if we actually ask people to fill out a form, what information we want, and I'm assuming we want to track that information session to session.
As far as the count, if homelessness is increasing or decreasing, is that something that is done locally, or is it a state or national count?
I can inform about that. What Monterey County does, and it probably happens, beyond just Monterey County, but annually they do a point-in-time counts, and actually we were a part of that, at least for a certain, portion of the Seaside jurisdiction. And essentially it is over a course of a couple days or so, the teams go out into the community and they do their best to try to identify who might appear to have either some kind of housing challenge, whether they're completely homeless, living in a vehicle, or whatever levels of housing challenges we can identify. And then with that count, it comes back to the county. The county comes up with its ways of finding statistical data, whether it's based off per vehicle versus individuals versus per city versus if you can identify, race or gender or those things. It just does its best to try to break down that information. Something about point-in-time counts, right, to know is basically what you captured on those 2 days that the point-in-time count is slated to take place, right? And so, you think about transients as well as, depending on what time of day you go out, right? The count may be, accurate, it may not, right? And that is that, I think what Commissioner Cunningham is speaking to, that perception versus that reality. And so the point in time count tries to give more of the reality to what we perceive out there, right? Versus just right in front of our eyes is, can we actually go out and count? And these organizations that do go out and do the counts, they have experience in this. They have skills and they do know where to look also, right? So even in those hidden areas, you may say, right? Or at least, where people are trying to hide, there may be some information known to providers, at least who do outreach, that there are folks there. So that, helps at least get more of an accurate count than, without that.
Very well. So I do think that it would be useful. We hold our listening session. We have folks there fill out the questionnaire, so it's their perception if they think homelessness is increasing or decreasing. We know based on the counts whether it's increasing or decreasing, and depending on if something matches or not, maybe we could write something up to distribute somehow and say there's a perception and either it matches the current trends of homelessness or it goes counter the current trends of homelessness. And I just want to say, I believe any one of us in here in this room is more than welcome to write a letter to the editor, to local papers. So if we want to notify the public that way about homelessness, that's always an option as well. So that's my thought on this. Is there any further discussion on our listening session?
That just brings up a good point for me, which is when we decide on the date, we're going to have to also think about some sort of I'll use the word PR campaign to get the word out to folks to actually come and present. I don't know what that would look like.
So I can speak to that too. So the beauty is, from the city standpoint, we can support certain things at that level, as it's, the norm of what the city does for any kind of event, right? We find ways to promote it, whether it's on our social media platforms, putting out direct content in some way into the community, through word of mouth, flyers, etc. We can make sure that part at least is definitely supported.
So what I have as sort of the next steps are to draft the questions and maybe come up with a more clear format for the actual discussion portion. And then to decide on a date, time, and location, and to figure out that PR, how we're going to publicize the event. So those are sort of my 3 next steps that the subcommittee can come back with next time.
Very well. So I think this is a great start. And if I understand, we're just discussing this agenda item tonight. We're not voting on anything.
That's correct.
Okay. I still, unless there's any further comments from commissioners or staff, I would like to open it up to public comment at this time.
I just want to inquire so that we're all on the same page as to when we'll bring back this item for discussion for the commission.
Next meeting,
Next
October?
October? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, great. All right,
I think maybe we'll just keep.
Yeah, we can
We
keep
can just
this
give an
on.
update. Maybe we don't need to do quite as full of an update next time, but sort of the update on the 3 next steps and what
Perfect.
progress we've made, and then
Okay, great.
until it's planned.
All right.
Very well. If members of the public wish to comment on this agenda item, you may come and do so. You have up to 3 minutes.
So I'm really excited about you folks wanting to include people from outside and you know, alternate perspectives in just one, especially the most affected. And I'm very available. So I'll pass around my card, I guess, and make sure we keep in touch because I'm excited for you. So thank you very much.
Very well. Any other members of the public wish to make comment on this agenda item? Seeing none at this time, let's move along to agenda item B. Review homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in the City of Seaside serving at-risk and homeless students and allocate up to $5,000 of the Homeless Commission annual budget to provide for the purchase of backpacks, school supplies, and clothing. Recommendation, select projects serving at-risk and homeless young people operating in the City of Seaside and allocate up to $5,000 for the purchase of backpacks, school supplies, and clothing. So for clarification, are we voting tonight to approve funds to go for this right now?
If we have a report back from Commissioner Murray that indicates, you know, the specifics of that, we can move forward with that. If we need to then, you know, push this off, you know, based off his report back to a future meeting for at least the decision part for the funding, we can also do that. So let's hear the report back first, and then we can make that decision based off the report.
Very well. Commissioner Murray?
Thank you, Commissioner. Due to me being in the hospital for a while, I would like to put this on the October agenda with a full report. I did make some contact, but I'm not fully ready to contact all the organizations that are in Seaside that deal with this. So if we can put it off until October's meeting, then I'll come with my full completed report.
Very well. Do I have any further discussion on this item?
I just have a question. Do we have a list of organizations that we should be reaching out to for this?
I just go off the cuff of the organizations that I do know of, like Sherry's CPI program, the Village Project, and then other entities, even reaching out to the Blue Ribbon Task Force and some of those, the Ladies First program, and then Seaside Resource programs that I do deal with, but there's still a lot of more organizations and even churches that have youth programs that, you know, I want to be in contact with just to see the need. I know that there was some, like St. Francis, that does a lot for homeless family and youth, but the main people that I need to talk to are on vacation within that organization. So, but I just go with the ones that I know that I've collaborated with within myself. But there's about 10 more that do operate in Seaside, and some that are not of Seaside, but they impact the city of Seaside, so young people. So I really don't want, I reached out to the school district, but I don't want to be redundant, you know, in that. Because I know that you're reaching out to some too, but I don't want to be redundant because I know they still have a lot of backpacks left over from their giveaway that they did at the Arts Academy School, Martin Luther King Academy. So I don't want to, you know, just feed back to them. I know that my youth program in my church still has some backpacks left, so, you know, I don't want to be a conflict of interest. But so I don't want to be giving more backpacks to people that they're not going to be able to give away, you know, and everything. So.
I was just going to offer if I could help in any way. I'd be happy to help, but I don't know if we have a predefined list that we're working from. It doesn't sound like we are. It sounds like you're working with relationships you have in the city.
Yep, that's correct. And then the city is more than happy to help to work with the commissioners on identifying, you know, those organizations or programs that serve youth that could, you know, possibly benefit from this as well. All right, thank you.
Here, I have a question. It sounds like maybe at the moment the need to buy actual backpacks is low.
Yes.
Even though kids lose supply over the year, and that could maybe be beneficial a little later in the year when kids lost a bunch of things. And then the other option to spend this $5,000 on listed is clothing. Is there anything else we could spend this money on, or because the way our budget was written, we're really limited to these three things?
I'll have to kind of inquire, you know, behind the scenes, and then I can, you know, get back to the commission on. You know, typically, you know, based off how it's worded as part of the work plan and as part of your budget breakdown, yes, we tend to stick to, you know, literally what is listed as this is what the expenditure is for. However, you know, I think there may be some flexibility. I can find out for you because I know certainly there's flexibility in the fact that you don't have to use all of it, right?
Okay.
You know, and so
And
that's.
clearly we can improve on our list, and maybe that might come, some of it from our listening session, to have a broader scope to give us more options
Right.
next year. And maybe one of the things we can find out when we talk to these groups is, what do you need? Instead of us trying to guess what they need, why don't we ask them, what do you need? And see if it fits into school supplies, which might be broad. I mean, a laptop is a school supply now. You know, or a tablet, or a cell phone, or there's a lot of things that are not actual a notebook like I got when I was a kid, and some pencils and an eraser.
Right.
It's a little bit different these days. And clothing, and just, I hope we can remember next year when we work on our budget to make this a little more flexibility into it. And I hope we can, whatever these groups need now, that we can get it into our list of 3 items and help these groups now with this $5,000. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, well communicated, and I, you know, would echo that is, and when, you know, as we're identifying already, like, based off what the budget states, that the commission, you know, has aspirations to do more, and with certain items, maybe in how they were, you know, originally, just, you know, decided on, that they're too specific, and so how can we then, yes, make them less specific maybe next year, so that, yes, there is some room to play around with the funds as we see the need is there, yeah.
So how it's set up right now, could it allow to buy students meal plans so they could get like a hot lunch every day? Is that within the framework of our work plan?
Right, so again, it'd be something I'd have to explore, you know, again, based off what the funding states, is they're very kind of specific, you know, identified items within those different line items on the budget that, you know, because they're specifically identified as that's what the funding is slated towards, it would be challenging to try to then request funds to use them for something else that wasn't previously identified.
I also believe California is providing free meals to everybody.
Oh, they are.
So that's
Yes.
nice that it's off the list, but again, possibly, you know, jackets, raincoats, sneakers,
Right.
socks,
I think that falls
underwear.
under the
There's a
category
lot of
clothing for
clothing
sure.
that
Yeah, that's
people
clothing.
need.
Yeah.
And our budget actually says backpack, school supplies for, backpack, school supplies and clothing for at-risk and homeless students.
Right.
And I'm confident that we can, $5,000, you know.
Even supplies.
We go really
Right.
fast.
Supplies is kind of general, school supplies,
Yeah.
you know, you may be able to find a way to justify why they need
Right.
it to
Right.
support their, you know, success in school or whatever, right? And
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, we can, you know, figure the logistics out about that.
When we find out what's needed,
Exactly.
let's see what we can fit in there. And again, 5,000 is a nice budget, not a lot of money,
Mhm.
and hopefully we can make it go as far and help as many students as possible.
Right, yeah, great.
Very well, and I was wondering, can we form a subcommittee on this agenda item? Say Commissioner Mugan partners with Commissioner Murray to work on this?
Yes, you make a motion, then vote, but yes, you surely can.
Very well, as a point of order, I make a motion to form a subcommittee to review homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in the City of Seaside serving at-risk and homeless students for allocation of $5,000 for backpacks, school supplies, and clothing, a subcommittee with Commissioners Mugan and Murray.
I second, if they're in agreement.
Very well, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Can I ask a question? Can we decide when you want the next report to come back? Is that October, or is that?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner.
October.
I mentioned October because that's the next meeting.
So we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Very well. Moving along to agenda item C. I would like to open it up for public comment, though, to discuss the item of, let's see, homeless advocacy organizations, nonprofits in Seaside serving at-risk and homeless students for up to $5,000 on backpacks, school supplies, and clothing. Are there any members of the public that wish to make comment? If you do, you have up to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll be moving along to agenda item C. Review homeless advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in the City of Seaside to allocate up to $5,000 of the Homeless Commission's 2022-2023 fiscal year budget to support holiday donations. The recommendation is to receive a report from Commissioner Mugan to discuss allocating part of the Homeless Commission's 2022-2023 fiscal year budget for holiday donations to support advocacy organizations and nonprofits operating in the City of Seaside who serve homeless individuals and families. Commissioner Mugan?
Thank you. So you guys have a report attached to the back of your pamphlet here. And what, a little bit of context, I had worked with Derek and we looked at the work plan. And on page 5 of our work plan, we have a list of 5 different organizations. I called 4 of those. And then I also added in the Village Project as well as, the Village Project, sorry. And so there was a total of 5 different organizations here listed in the plan. Gathering for Women, Salvation Army, Casa de Noche Buena, Community Partnership for Youth, and iHelp. And I spoke with the folks that are in the last column, they're listed who I talked to, and trying to get information as it related to how the commission could support them during the holiday season. And so the information is here. I don't know if you'd like to walk through it one by one. If you want to ask questions, if you had a chance to look at it already. I think the goal of this report was to provide the information to folks, and then in October we would potentially make decisions as to what we wanted to fund based on this information. And there may be additional information you guys want to get. The one thing that I was thinking about during the previous conversation was, the issue about backpacks. So there may be some connections here about buying backpacks or supporting with backpacks as well for some of the organizations here that also support children. So I just wanted to, like I said, put this information out here. We can walk through it one by one. You guys can ask questions. How would you like me to proceed?
I think this is very good information here. I see maybe about 4,000 out of 5,000 that we could hypothetically, I think, vote on tonight. But it looks like, so there were some of these organizations that you did not hear back from?
I did not hear back from the village budget. I heard back from everyone else.
But it looks like some of them are still coming up with how much they could use for the
Well, I
programs.
think the TBD is really for us to decide. They're just
Okay.
throwing out the idea, and I think if we would like to fund, like, for example, the partnering that Community Partnership for Youth does with the National Charity League, if we said, hey, we wanted to donate $1,000 to that effort, then that would be something that we could do. Some of these were easily, no one said, this is what we need specifically. They gave us ideas because I did not know, I thought that the total cost and the total dollars would be something the commission should really make a decision on. Unless in cases where it was pretty easy, where it was, for example, 10 times 100, okay, that's $1,000, right? In those cases, I tried to make a judgment. But in most of them, they did not actually specifically say, this is the amount, they just gave the ideas. So we can walk through the ideas and maybe isolate what we think is the best or the ones that we would really like to work through. And I could go back to some of these organizations and get a better sense of cost, if that's what you'd like to do.
Do you believe all these organizations are open to just gift cards?
I do. From everything that's listed here, I think a Visa gift card would suffice for all of this, if that's what we decided we wanted to do.
The only thing I would want to know is there a way we can determine, like, a count of how many individuals or families might need or benefit from gift cards at these centers before we determine how many gift cards to grant each of them?
Well, I think in the case of so for Gathering for Women, that's very specific, the Target gift cards, right? So we could work with that. For like Salvation Army, if we decided we wanted to donate $1,000 to support either one of these efforts, then I would think we would just do a $1,000 Visa gift card. I don't know if we could actually isolate the number, but if you wanted me to ask that question, we could see how many people we could support with that amount of money. Is that kind of reversing your question, I think, a little bit?
Right, so I guess where I'm coming from, I would just want to know a little bit more information, a little bit more specifics on this. This is a great start, almost finished, and I would like to hear back if we can before our next meeting from the Village Project.
Call the teachers.
Really? Okay.
Is it listed on here or is it not?
It's not listed.
Oh,
It was an organization that Sarah had provided when I asked.
I know the Village Project, they're going through changes as far as the director, executive director, Mel Mason is retiring, and they're bringing in another lady named Stacey, I believe, who's she's doing a a great job so far. So you may have to ask for Stacey specifically to get a response. You know, I don't know why they haven't responded, but that's just my suggestion. If you just,
I can call again.
yeah, I mean, if that's your desire, I would just ask for Stacey specifically. And then if you don't get an answer, then it's on them.
I get it. If you're still having. Oh, come on. If you're still having challenges reaching the Village Project, I can make an effort to make contact, as I do have a direct collaboration with their program, as many of the others on the list I had provided the information for. So sometimes another provider can reach another provider more easily sometimes, you know, just because we already have that relationship built.
Yeah, if you want to put me in touch with them, that sounds great.
Yep, I'd be happy to.
Derek? And I don't know if we did this last year, would it be possible for us to, let's say, set aside $500 and buy $10 gift cards that we could give to our police officers, our fire personnel, your team, so when you're going out during your visits in December and they're out in whatever you call the holiday season, that they would actually have some gift cards that they could give away if they see a need right there, right then, if they have them available, or do we have to go, you know, to specific organizations? I just don't know if that's something we could do, and if we could do it, does anybody have an interest in that? I think it'd be great if an officer just was like, here's something you need, here's $10, you know, here's, you know, or whatever we decided to do. I think it would, or like your team.
Well, I mean, I think it may be something that can be considered from a creative approach, as if we're giving it out during the holiday seasons, it's still contributing to holiday donations. Maybe we can communicate it and justify it that way, that council would be willing to be agreeable to that.
Does anybody have any interest in that?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And for up to $500, you said?
I just made up a number, but.
Yeah, but something that can be dividable easily, of course, we had to think about that, right? But something that can be dividable easy enough and could be, you know, we can give a stack to, you know, say, police and, you know, program us and whoever, right? And yeah, you know, maybe we can, yeah, communicate that in a way that we can get it approved as still part of our holiday donation support.
Do you think they'd be open to that, or is that gonna?
We can only put out the recommendation, any idea, right?
Okay.
And, you know, hope that we'll get that support or
Okay.
approval in return.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So Derek, let me ask a question. So then the commission's recommendation as it relates to that budget goes in front of the city council after we meet in October for approval, and then we can act? Is that?
Well, you know, it's not quite the same as the RFP process that we had set up for the larger chunk of money,
Right.
but it's still money that the city has to give its approval to say, yes, we'll cut you a check for this, or we'll allow this, either way, right? It's less of the formal process like an RFP, but we still have to bring it to them and get their approval to say it's okay. And that would be more me, you know, communicating and doing that, yeah.
So I think the beauty of these organizations is that they're pretty close to the work at hand, right? We're not funding administration, if you will, but at the same time, I love the idea of that. So maybe we can come up with a mix that makes good sense for organizations that are here that I've already talked to, plus something else that gives freedom, and you're there, you're available, and you can offer it right then. It's very
And definitely, you know, if the commissioners are available, if some of these organizations are having their, you know, holiday event that day or something, you know, to have a representation there too, I'm sure that would be, you know, all, you know, just as impactful.
And I like the idea of maybe selecting like the number of people that we want to, like I like how Gathering for Women had, you know, 100 people, and then the suggestion of $10 target cards or something that's easy. So if we had like through the fire department or family community services, like we want to provide 100 gift card, $110 gift cards, or it's like 100 individuals or something. I think that's an easy way to come up with the budget. But then, I know like last year we did, for Casa de Noche Buena, we did a little bit, we did a certain amount for adults and a certain amount for children, families, so maybe what, like, kind of more information that you can provide next time would be for Salvation Army, how many families or how many clients do they usually provide these backpacks to or something like that?
Right, and another way too, just to kind of think about it, is if the organizations in the moment that you make contact aren't able to give you specific numbers or something, it's more, we can provide $1,000 to you. You then will go out, figure out how to purchase the gift cards and disseminate it out to your people, based off of that. But we just know, okay, they served 1,000 people. However, they decided to do that, say Casa de Noche Buena gave $100 gift cards to the adults and then 50 to the kids. That's on them to kind of have to really kind of do all of that more detailed work. But at least the funding part, right, came from, because then it's also us not telling them how they have to spend it necessarily, or giving them, saying, well, you told us you're only gonna use it for 100 people for this and this, versus it's like, well, this is just going to you to use at the best, most effective, impactful way you can use it, and you decide then, right?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Same.
Very well. So are we going to be looking up, are we going to be reviewing this in our October meeting, say with more specifics? And that's when we would be voting on these amounts with the specifics in October?
Well, I think based on what Jared just said, what I could do is, how about I just make a recommendation for each of these organizations about what I think would be the best, based on the conversations I've had in terms of amounts, and then we can vote on that recommendation. Would that be appropriate? Leaving aside funds out of the $5,000 to do what Lynda suggested, which I think is a great idea.
And I'll get out more information back to the commission based off of that. I'll do some inquiry in between just to make sure that's something that's even doable and how that we could, might be able to make that happen.
Okay, so that's what I'll do. I'll make a recommendation. If I can get additional information just for context about how many folks that they would try to provide things to, or how many folks they serve, I can do that. But I think probably a lot of this is based on how much money they raise for the effort, right? Is my guess. Not just from us, but from all the organizations they work with and their own budgets.
Yeah.
So
We could also just ask them afterwards,
how many did you serve?
Yeah, did you, and then we have that as information.
Yeah.
I'd also like to point out that if you were to get a $10 gas card to buy gas, you could get $2 of gas. So even though a $10 gift card sounds really nice, I think we really need to consider that. Really, if it's not $20, even though of course $10 you can
Sure.
find something, but sometimes you need something.
Right.
Sometimes it's, anyways, if we are actually buying cards, and I think it's great that they're going to give $10 gift cards, you just have to remember $10 is not going to buy much, especially when you're trying to buy gas.
On that note, so if we were to say we wanted to cut a check for $1,000, we can just go ahead and do that. It's not, you don't have to go out and buy a gift.
No, and that's really
Easiest way to do it.
the easiest way, and probably the best way to support the organization, right? Because again, we're not dictating or determining what items they get or how that money is being spent, versus just the fact that we want to help you, as something that the commission, has slated to do as part of the budget, is to help for donations. And we didn't say what kind of donations or how much or, how many of a particular time.
Augmenting your budget.
Yeah, we're just augmenting your budget to help you with this effort. Yeah. And then you think about the amount of work it would take too, if you don't know the family specifically and what things would be kind of best fit, depending on the breakdown, right? You just think that the organizations themselves or the providers, they know.
Yeah.
And then often too, they will probably do it in a way that allows some freedom for the individuals and the families to go out and, if it's gift cards, right, purchase things for themselves as needed.
call that out specifically to get cards given out specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, all right, then I will go ahead and make recommendations for the October meeting, and I will try to get a little bit more context. Obviously, given the conversation, we're not sure. Most of this is probably dependent on how much money they raise for these efforts, but they can maybe give me past information like they've done in the past.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Very well. Any further discussion on agenda item C? I would like to open it up for public comment. Members of the public wishing to make comment on agenda item C for review organizations and nonprofits in City of Seaside, $5,000 homeless commission budget. For holiday donations, you have 3 minutes to do so for public comment.
Yes, Shashi Sage again, and as far as the donation on the holiday season, many people do the same thing, and a lot of times the people are overbooked with, you know, the cologne, the toothpaste, you find them on the train track, you find them everywhere, and they are, they don't go to the, for the real reason because everybody else is trying to do the same. So it would be nice to have a kind of a different way of doing it because they're getting clothes from just about everybody else, everywhere else. So it'd be a nice way to do, like have a homeless day where they can feel more like humans or like, like regular people. So they themselves can like go around and kind of shop for themselves, but get the stuff or get it in bulk, and they can like choose for themselves so they feel more like I am a part of it than to just like give them the extra stuff. And people like to choose stuff that they like, and when they choose it, they feel more grateful and they do a whole lot more with it. Even if it's just a very different thing, if it's a purse or just anything, they like to know that they choose it, that it was like given to them. So, or given to us. So it's a different kind of a little bit of unique. I go out and help on Saturdays where in Salinas, and I help to distribute clothes and stuff. And when you hand, like some people say, give them something, ask what you want, and you go and pick it. But when you pick it and give it to them, that's what they do. They get rid of that because didn't get to choose what they want. So it's kind of something like that. Give them a homeless day or homeless special day, and get them to dress up or do something different that they never did before, and it will be more appreciated. I can tell you because I've been out there seeing it. And you won't find it on the track, and you don't find it all over the streets or somewhere else. Because they got tons of it. If it's toothpaste, they got it. If it's soap, they have it. Because everybody does it. We just want to do something a little different. Maybe take a day and get them their hair done. Or their nails, or something that has never been done before. And it could make a change. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to make a public comment on agenda item C? Seeing none, so do we need to vote to table this item, Derek, or are we just we'll just revisit it?
We only had decided to receive the report. So
Okay.
since we aren't deciding on anything.
Nothing to vote on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving along to reports from commissioners. Commissioner Fiess, did you have anything you want to report?
No.
Commissioner Murray, do you have anything you want to report?
Just thank you to everybody who had made their thoughts and prayers, and to our liaison, Mr. Elder, for coming to see about me. I happened to be in a meeting with him and the fire chief. I went from the fire station to the hospital. And it's a good thing that they noticed it and kind of forced me to go. because I'm more sicker than what I ever thought I was. And you know, just like the record, but it just shows just how unique the people are on this commission, that I had to have a defibrillator put in. And I had a bad infection in my leg. And I'm just thankful to be alive and be here back in full swing. So thank you.
Commissioner Cunningham, anything to report?
No, I thought I had something, but I did write it down the other day, and now it's gone. So I apologize, next time I'll write it down.
Well, that's fine. Commissioner Mugan? I'll just report that I might know a doctor who her and her husband work with homeless. They do clinics. I'm going to look into seeing if I can get her and her husband to come and speak at a homeless commission meeting. So that's all I have to report. Are there any reports from staff?
First off, we love you, Pastor or Commissioner. And so, you know, think nothing of it, you know, coming to see you, spending time with you, you know, that's no effort at all. It comes from the heart. And then just to the commission, you'll be happy to know that on Monday, from all of our work with the ERP stuff, it is officially posted on, you know, and it's out there. So we're waiting to get, you know, the feedback and, you know, the different, reports that will be turned in for that, you know, and then, in about a month or so, we'll be ready to start making decisions on that funding itself. But hey, that's part of the work. I know the commissioner wants to be more action-oriented, so, you know, I think it's just something to acknowledge that we are taking actions. Yep, thank you.
Derek, will that be one of those notices in the weekly? Like I see at the back of the weekly, all these different city notices. Will it appear like that? And if not, or even if it does, can we promote to organizations that we know that, hey, here's this thing? Are they going out to the Seaside website to find it?
Right, yes, so it is, right.
Organizations, can we push people in that direction?
You can, yeah, certainly. So it is gonna be on all social media platforms that the city has. The rec department has a page, City Hall has a page, Seaside Police and Fire have a page. And so anything that goes out on one platform goes out on all of them. It goes on the city website itself in the, most current news, up to date, and it gets recycled, right? Meaning it comes back up, right? Every so often. It's on the bids posting page, also on the city website, as well as, I want to say that, yes, it'll probably end up in the weekly, but I'll have to get back to you on, how far out it gets advertised when it relates to like the media. And then, yes, you certainly can promote or, inform organizations that you're aware of that, hey, there's this out there, and, we encourage you, to submit a, proposal. Yeah, so yeah, certainly. And then, I've even seen like city postings because we have an amazing communications director on like LinkedIn, right? He's, because, he's just wants to make sure the word is out there as far as it can be reached. And so, yeah, it's gonna get out there for sure.
Are we gonna talk about them at the October meeting? Is that what we'll be doing?
So yes, that's correct. So we have the closing of it and all the proposals set to be turned in by right before we're scheduled to have our October's regular meeting. And so then I will bring all of them to the meeting, we'll review them, and then we will be able to start making decisions.
Can we get them ahead of the meeting?
As I get them, I can pass them along.
Okay, because then maybe we can review them.
Right, yeah, exactly. I hear what you're saying, right? It's just as they get turned into me, right? And
Yeah.
so, right. Yeah.
But maybe as a commission, maybe we can just agree to review them before so that.
Okay.
Yes.
We just have-
I'll try to get them to you as soon as I receive them, then that way you'll kind of be able to be doing ongoing reviews, so that by the meeting, we'll have at least, information enough to hopefully inform us and have a expedited or quick process in our decision making.
I remembered my item.
Go for it.
I brought it at the city council meeting, maybe it was a month ago. The Cal Kids program, that's the free money that every single California kid gets, homeless, home, and that I really would like to see Seaside have a goal of every single kid in Seaside signing up for this free money for college. It's absolutely free. All you have to do is sign up for it. And I would hope that at some future time that we can somehow try to ensure that we're doing something to ensure our homeless youth are getting the word that this is free money they can sign up for. And I'm going to add it to the agenda for our listening session, and maybe we can have some actual flyers. The state has made all the advertising for you. You don't even have to, like plug your city name in or something, and make sure that we're getting that word out that this is free money for secondary education, and it's free. Let's get everybody excited to sign up. So I want to make sure we're on that, and I will add it to this, and we'll get it on a future agenda because this is really important. If it's free, why don't we get it? Let's get it. Every single kid, let's get this. It's like hundreds of dollars. It's big money. Let's do it.
Thank you. That's all for me, thank you.
Any other reports from staff? Seeing none, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. This meeting is adjourned.